Let's welcome in our guests on this Wednesday, former Special Assistant to President Donald Trump, Mark Lauder, and Executive Director for America First Works, Ashley Hayek. Good morning to you both. Great to have you with us. Ashley, what was your reaction to this news late yesterday?
Well, of course, the left wants us to talk about this issue all the way through the election. But what they don't want to acknowledge is the fact that, there are many places where 7th, 8th, 9th month of pregnancy, when a baby can't feel pain, abortions are still happening. And that, at the end of the day, if a baby is born alive, we should do everything we possibly can to save that baby. And Arizona right now has a very interesting dynamic. It is a battleground state for the president, for a Senate race. And I think people are forgetting that the number one issue in Arizona is going to be the border. And while this is, a very big decision that came out, this is not what is going to be what people decide what they're going to be voting on in November and leading up to November. It's going to be the border crisis. It's going to be Bidenomics. It's going to be all of those policies that the left is on the wrong side of history on. And just yesterday, the governor again vetoed another bill that would have stopped children from viewing pornography online. This governor is on the wrong side of everything. The Democrats are on record on the wrong side of every issue that Americans really care about in November. And I think that's what's going to be on the forefront of voters' minds. And so this frenzy over this issue, I think, is a little out of hand.
So you mentioned the governor, Katie Hobbs of Arizona. Here's what she had to say yesterday after this abortion ban was upheld. Take a listen.
I know it's outrageous to have the government tell you that the best decision for your health or future could now be considered a crime. My message to Arizona women is this. I will not stop fighting until we have fully secured the right to reproductive health care in our state. I refuse to let radical extremists take control over women's bodies or tell my 22-year-old daughter that she has less rights than I did when I was her age.
Mark, the timing on this is terrible. We're 6.5 months from the election, and we know that all Democrats are running on is the issue of abortion. This just gives them fuel to the fire. What does this mean for Donald Trump?
Well, I actually think it's going to backfire on them. I think they think this is a winning issue. But look, there's a simple answer. The legislature could come in and they could pass a law that would supersede it. But then let's have that fight. Let's have that fight of whether it's 15 weeks or are we going to use taxpayer funds to kill babies in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month. And Democrats are going to lose that argument because they are committed to basically being able to kill babies. And once they are viable outside of the womb, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and Republicans are on the side of life. So I think we can have that argument. I mean, it doesn't surprise me the Supreme Court of Arizona ruled this way. It was a law that was on the books. We're the party that believes in the laws that are on the books. So now the legislature should step in and overturn it, put something new in place, and let's have that argument.
Yeah, it's a Civil War era law, Mark. I think that it was viewed as somewhat archaic, which is why it wasn't actively on the books over the last 160 years. Wall Street Journal had a battleground poll 10 days ago. Donald Trump was leading in Arizona by 5 points. Biggest issues to voters there, yes, the economy, yes, the southern border, but abortion was on the list. I think the timing, as Charla said, on this couldn't be worse for Donald Trump. I don't think that can be understated. Axios had some reporting this morning that Kari Lake, she says this ruling is totally out of step with Arizonans. Kari Lake is the Republican running for the Senate out there in Arizona. And I'll tell you what, her chances just got a whole lot worse, especially if this is on the ballot in November. And look, abortion is not going to be a winning issue until it's actually not a winning issue. In the last election we had, 2022, Ashley, this was a winning issue for Democrats. In Arizona, key battleground state, 11 electoral votes. Donald Trump needs Arizona. He needs a number of these battleground states to go his direction if he wants to be president in January of 2025. I look at this and I think, look, fine. You can be the most pro-life person on the planet. If you're running for president, you need to be a little bit more. Think about what Donald Trump said 2 days ago. All right. It should go back to the states and then rape, incest, and the health of the mother. None of that's included here except the health of the mother. Ashley.
Yeah, well, and Mark and I have talked about this. at length. And I think the part of the reason that we had such a hard time with this in 2022 was because Republicans refused to address this issue. And we need to start talking about the two lives that are involved in providing support for women. What really irks me is when you hear a woman like Katie Hobbs, when you hear some of these radical women who talk about providing health care and reproductive health care rights for women in difficult situations. Well, you know what? That means providing health care for women and babies at all stages of pregnancy. It means providing health care, mental health support, even fertility treatment. But those are policies that they won't even discuss because the only thing they care about is extremism and abortion policy. They are fine with having an abortion in 7th, 8th, 9th month in pregnancy. And now is the time for conservatives to push back because that is out of line with most Americans. And if we can convey that message and we can make sure that we are on the right side of providing support for women and offer different support levels, different policy ideas, having an ultrasound before you have an abortion, discussing that mental health component. I think that this could be a winning issue for many Republicans,
Ashley,
and I think you have to lean in.
So I disagree. I just disagree. I totally agree with what you're saying, and I understand that. But I think the headline is going to be exactly what Democrats want. Extreme state Supreme Court in a 4-2, so it's not like it was close, 4-2 ruling bans abortion in the state of Arizona, a key battleground state. Look, you want to do this after the election? We can have the conversation. 6.5 months from the election, I guarantee you Donald Trump waking up in Mar-a-Lago this morning
but you
is
just said
not
6.5
happy about this.
6.5 months from the election, that's a lifetime for legislators to do something, as Mark just mentioned. It's a lifetime of messaging. We don't know what the Republican legislatures, there's some really smart people in Arizona. It is a Republican legislature, and I guarantee you they're already thinking about how to address it today.
With a Democratic governor, though. So if you look at the other side of that, Ashley, yes, but it also gives Democrats 6.5 months to now talk about abortion. And we're talking about abortion right now. I honestly, I saw this yesterday and I was like, this single move by the state Supreme Court could take Arizona off the map as a battleground. Don't forget, Arizona went for Trump in 2016. It went for Biden in 2020. We're talking about a few thousand votes. And if you ban abortion in a state 6.5 months from election, that's going to have an impact on the election. It's bad news, whether you like it or not, for Republican candidates, including Kari Lake, by the way, which is why she came out and said that this move is out of step with the way that Arizonans feel, Ashley.
Yeah, right, but I guess my point is that this is still an issue that I think, not the abortion issue, but I think that the Republican Party does need to put the Democrats on the defense, and put Katie Hobbs on record for what she truly wants and push back. And we'll see that over the course of the next few months as well.
So we know how Biden feels now about the issue of abortion, but in 2006, he had a very different take. Take a listen.
I do not view abortion as a choice and a right. I think it's always a tragedy, and I think that it should be rare and safe. And I think we should be focusing on how to limit the number of abortions, and they ought to be able to have a common ground and consensus as to do that. I think the vast majority of the American people think that can be done, but unfortunately, we're put in a position you either eliminate abortions under all circumstances, or it's quote abortion on demand.
Is it the same guy?
Wow. Mark, what do you make of that? He's changed it a little bit.
Well, clearly he went to the side of abortion on demand because that's what he wants. That's what all Democrats, except for 2 senators, voted for in the United States Congress. They actually want taxpayer-funded abortion 7th, 8th, 9th month for any reason. You have just down the street here in Washington, D.C., there is a clinic that advertises abortion tourism, 9th month abortion, no question asked, no reason needed. Come on in, we'll terminate your baby that could actually live outside the womb and is weeks away from being born. So that's where we are right now. But I think this does provide us an opportunity. And I agree with you, Rob. I want to be talking about inflation. I want to talk about the border. I want to talk about the government being weaponized against people. We're going to have to deal with this issue. And really, when we talk about the issue in the right way, the American people believe and are on our side. I've seen polls that say 71% of Americans believe that, 4 months is about the right time frame for a woman to be able to make that difficult decision. So let's talk about that. And that's what you should be talking about in the states, while we also talk about what can we do to help women who have to make that or feel they have to make that decision for economic reasons, for healthcare reasons.
Yeah.
And if we can eliminate some of those barriers, we can actually start to have this conversation and win it again.
All right, Mark, Ashley, enjoyed the conversation this morning. We'll pick this back up top of the hour. Thank you.